Welcome to The Holistic Entrepreneur with holistic nurse practitioner, success coach, and best-selling author, Bonnie Groessl. Bonnie and her expert guests share tips, tools, and strategies to achieve success on your holistic entrepreneur journey. Each show features answers to common entrepreneur challenges, along with a healthy dose of support and motivation. Now, please welcome the host of The Holistic Entrepreneur, Bonnie Groessl.
Well, welcome everyone. This is your host, Bonnie Groessl, here at The Holistic Entrepreneur. Now today we're talking about where you put your attention. There is so much going on in the world and everyone is stressed. The COVID-19 pandemic has been going on. It's probably never going to go away. COVID and other health crises will kind of always be with us. And aside from that, sadness and stress and the burden that that's caused, now we're dealing with an even larger issue, I think. The murder of a black man, George Floyd, was murdered by police in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in the U.S. And it's caused an extreme upheaval of unrest and fear and hatred and anxiety, and it seems that it's even bigger than the whole pandemic is or has been. But you know what I find is heartwarming is that the world seems to have come together in solidarity to honor him and all the black lives that are needlessly lost. Anyone really of color. Black lives do matter. You know, all lives matter. And people of color here in the United States have been at a disadvantage for so long, and hopefully now things will change. Before we get into the show today to talk more about attention and where you put your attention to, I want to take time to always thank you for being here. I know that time is our most precious asset. I so appreciate you taking your time to share with me here on the show. Now, the information that we present at The Holistic Entrepreneur is meant to be educational, inspirational, and motivational in nature. But I always want you to just take what fits for you and just let go of the rest. This show does not intend or imply to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. I always want to preface every show with that little reminder for all of us. And make sure you check out the show page. I have special gifts for you at bonnielinks.com. There's always kind of new stuff that I put out there. It's a webpage that I created just to really share gifts with you. And there are some special things to help you prepare for this new normal between the pandemic and civil rights unrest and all that is going on in the world. You can also connect with me at bonniegroessl.com, and that's where I archive all of the podcasts. And I have information about our company, M&B Global Solutions, and what we do. So let's talk about attention. You know, we give our attention to things every moment of every day. So where do you put your attention? You know, have you ever heard the phrase, whatever you put your attention to grows? Right? Whether it's your garden or the fears or things that are going on in the world. If you're like most people, the negative things get your attention first. It's human nature. It's how our brains are wired. Rick Hansen talks about the brain being like Velcro for the bad stuff and Teflon for the good things that we experience in our lives. They don't seem to stick like the bad things do. And there's certainly a lot to get our attention these days. Oh my goodness. And our thoughts and our feelings create the experiences that we have as we go forward. We see things in a different light. You know, when bad things happen and we think about that situation, person, event, we feel stressed. We might feel sad, upset, angry, frustrated, fearful, worried. All the stuff that we feel probably isn't very good. Now, I've been saying for years, if you can't have positive thoughts about something and feel good, then the next best thing to do is to not think about it at all. And I have to remind myself of that from time to time as well. Now, I don't mean to imply that we should ignore what's happening or not think about the angst that's going on right now and the unrest and the violence. I'm not saying that we should just totally ignore that, but just don't let it consume you. Don't think about it like all the time. You know, when you have something really negative that you're struggling with, you go to bed at night and maybe you have good dreams or maybe not. But when you wake up in the morning, it's like, oh, it's back, right? That's how many of us feel these days with all of the stress that's going on in the whole world. So we have to make a concerted effort to just not let it consume us. And sometimes it's really hard to take it off the radar screen, isn't it? But you have to take a break from it, for your own well-being and for the energy in the entire world. Because energy is everywhere, right? And what you put out there influences everything else. So you can help by sending positive thoughts and good energy out into the world. Oftentimes, that's the best thing I think I can do. Sometimes it's the only thing I can do. It all begins with your awareness. Notice what gets your attention. What do you find yourself focusing on? What do you find yourself spending time thinking about, like most of the day? Now, of course, this changes as we go along our journey, but it's always good to notice where your attention goes, whether something major is going on in the world or not, because something has your attention. 2 weeks ago, you may have been consumed by the pandemic of COVID-19 and, the safety and the people who are struggling financially and with their health and all kinds of issues. And today, maybe it's more about civil rights, inequality, and all of the hatred in the United States. Thinking about it generally doesn't help the situation. Focusing on it doesn't really do anything to help. It is what it is at the moment. And we can make it a whole lot worse in our minds, can't we? We often imagine the worst case scenario or all the things that could go wrong. How often do you spend time imagining the best that could happen? See what I mean? We don't do that enough. When you don't feel good, things just don't seem to go well in general. Have you ever noticed that? If you feel stressed or are feeling the effects of the negative thoughts that are out there, like fear, worry, anger, sadness, your energetic vibration is low. And then nothing seems to go right. I think that's really what's going on when people say they're having a bad day. It's their energy, their vibration. So how do you prevent having those bad days? Now, there might be one big thing that has all your attention, like the things that are going on in the world now, and then it's hard to concentrate on other things. It might even affect your sleep, your mood, your appetite, how you interact with others, or if you even want to interact with others. Now, I know we're all supposed to be doing social distancing, but you might not even want to talk to somebody on the phone or Facebook or whatever, because you just don't know what to say. It's overwhelming. Now, I know I've said this before. Distraction can be a wonderful tool. Immerse yourself in something else. Stay busy. Focus on what it is that you're doing, and it'll pull your mind away from the issue that has you so stressed. If you like, do something productive and helpful in this time of strife. Going outside in nature, doing a pattern interrupt and changing the venue. Take a bike ride, go for a walk. Exercise can be a wonderful stress reliever. When you're out in nature, I like to get some dirt therapy. It's one of my favorites. I go out into the garden and dig in the dirt. Weeding can be mindless and almost meditative for me. My gardens always need weeding anyway, and maybe yours do too. Being connected to the earth is so healing as well. So speaking of meditation, that's another great tool. Allowing your thoughts to just float past you without judgment or emotion. It just is what it is. No attachment. Notice them and then just let them go without reacting to them. There may be lots of little things that just nag at you. Not just the major issues that are going on today, but the little stuff that we all have every day. If that's the case, I like to just identify what is it that's making me feel this way? What's going on? What people or experiences or situations are causing that? Being the gardener that I am, I like to think of my thoughts a bit like cleaning out the weeds in the garden. Being the gardener that I am, I like to think of my thoughts a bit like clearing out the weeds in my mind. It's just like weeding your garden. It's a process that has to be done on a regular basis. It's not just one and done. And if you don't do it a little bit every day, things kind of get out of control, just like in the garden. So when the weeds keep popping up in your garden, it's like our lives. Life is a journey, and little things pop up all the time. And then sometimes big things pop up. In life, there are ups and downs and detours and challenges and opportunities every time we turn around. And I think for entrepreneurs, perhaps we notice this more than people who aren't in their own business because it's what we do for our life's work. And being a holistic entrepreneur is really who you are, not just a job you go to. It's you. You are it. And this often reflects on our bottom line, our relationships, and sometimes even our health. So it behooves us to have a weeded garden. So if you look at your mind like a garden, there's going to be weeds, no doubt. Some sections of your garden might have rocks and thorns. But you know what? They also have a few flowers or maybe beautiful trees that produce abundance for you. I suggest that you try imagining your life as a garden, just for a little bit. That garden would have a number of areas probably in your life: money, relationships, health, the state of the world or state of the country. Some of those sections will have mainly rocks and weeds and thorns and look pretty crappy. And then there maybe are areas that are doing pretty well. The areas where it's hard to grow anything in because there's so many rocks and thorns, those are the ones that we have to sort of do some weeding in and do some maintenance. For many of us, the state of the world between COVID-19 and civil rights and violence against people of color is probably top of mind. And it might be the biggest part of your garden right now, and it might look like a mess. So for some, it might be a money section, and maybe that's full of weeds or thorns or rocks. For others, it's health or relationships. There's all these little pieces, just like the plants that you have in your garden. There may be rocks and thorns in every area, but it's really all tied together. So I want you to think about starting with one area that you can kind of tackle and do first. The sections of your garden that include some rocks also have those beautiful flowers in there. Notice those. Even amidst the protest after the murder of George Floyd, where the police were joining in with marchers, were taking a knee with people on the streets who were exercising their First Amendment right to honor George Floyd. Even in the midst of the fear of COVID-19, people were contributing to those in need in so many ways. There's always some flowers or beauty in every part of your garden. Sometimes you just got to really look for it. Now, there might be areas in your life where you are thriving. Most people have at least one life that's kind of together, and it's blossoming or at least doing well enough to feel good about. So identify that, appreciate that, feel the gratitude. Gratitude creates all kinds of wonderful things. You can't really get what you want unless you're first grateful for what you have. So I would say acknowledge that little part of your life. And now imagine what would happen if you cleared up all the rocks and the weeds and the thorns and all the garbage that's in your garden. You'd find that new life comes, new flowers and trees, and that other areas of your life begin to thrive. Every time you do this, you're really cleaning up an area of your life. I like to use imagery a lot. And so I can imagine myself, getting the rocks out, pulling the weeds out, clearing the clutter out, and then standing back and looking at the improvement that I've made. Allowing the things that you want to grow. Imagery is such a great tool to use here. You can do some imagery and see yourself actually weeding like I do. And when you pull out the weeds, let them go with love. Send them off in a good way. And maybe it's just a Bonnieism, but I think, okay, if I'm kind to my plants, they'll do better. Talk to them, and I don't just, roughly throw away the weeds. I, put them in a bin and we take them to the garden waste place. And it's like, okay, you stay here now and I don't want you back in my garden. So do whatever it feels good to you. But I think if you look at life sometimes through the lens of imagery, like weeding your garden, sometimes it's helpful. And you can stand back and actually see the progress you've made. So I would recommend you notice what's growing in your proverbial garden and how it looks. Does it look unkempt or unruly, or maybe it's time to do some weeding? And once you do that, that allows the good things to flow to you, the abundance, the love, the stuff that we're all so desperately wanting these days. So allowing that stuff to come into your life, you got to make room for it. You got to get rid of those weeds first. So are you ready to clean up your garden and allow those wonderful things to grow? I hope that the thoughts that I've shared with you today are helpful. And I always love to hear any comments from you, so certainly feel free to connect with me. But I want to leave you with this quote from Vivian Green. Life isn't about, and I'm sure you've heard this quote before, life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning how to dance in the rain. Right now, it's pouring outside, and we need to, see a little bit of hope in this time and maybe dance in the rain a little bit. So until next time, I want you to believe that anything is possible. As long as you believe in yourself, you can do it, whatever it is. Well, thank you for joining me here at the Holistic Entrepreneur Show today. If you would like to learn how you can be a sought-after guest on popular podcasts, how to produce your own show, or even how to use content marketing to grow your business, go to bonnielinks.com and check out the offers that I have for you there. BonnieLinks.com, BonnieLinks.com, is also where you can sign up for my monthly newsletter, the Holistic Entrepreneur Update. It comes straight to your email with an update from me and all of the links to the last month's shows, just in case you missed anything. Now, this newsletter also gives you access to the show's guest gift page, where you can access all the great gifts from my guests over the years. And don't forget to subscribe to The Holistic Entrepreneur on your favorite podcast directory so that you'll automatically receive the newest episode when it's released. The Holistic Entrepreneur is brought to you by M&B Global Solutions.